I like him, huh? Oh, my.
No, the mayor. Well, we know who you are.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. Mary, would you call the roll?
Community Redevelopment Agency and City Commission, Chair Collins,
Here.
Vice Chair Reed,
Here.
Board Member Clark. Here. Board Member Giobbi,
Here.
Board Member Rich,
Here.
Board Member DeBerard, Board Member James.
Here.
Community Redevelopment Board, Chair McChrystal, Vice Chair Moser, Board Member DeBerard, Board Member James,
Here.
Board Member Laughlin,
Here.
Board Member Manera,
Here.
Board Member Whalen.
Here.
And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record reflect that Mr. DeBerard has just joined the meeting.
Sorry, everybody.
Moving into presentations, the presentation of the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard Streetscape Improvements Plan. Pinal.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Pinal Gandhi Savdas for the record, CRA Director. I'll introduce the item. The consultants are here with us today to give more details about the plans. As you know, we've been working on the MLK Streetscape project for several years now, and we did put a temporary pause on this project because there were other projects that were being prioritized in East Stuart neighborhood, including the Guy Davis Park improvements, the CDBG COVID grant that we received for the new project lift facility, neighborhood code rewrite efforts, and designation of East Stuart on National Register of Historic Places. Because those projects took priority, we did have to kind of pause on the MLK Streetscape project. But now that those projects are underway and nearing completion, we resumed prioritization of the MLK Streetscape project. We applied for the grant in February. That came before the board, authorizing staff to apply for a grant for this project. Another thing, the project is within the project boundary of Dixie Highway to Tarpon Avenue. We did extend the project boundary to include sidewalk improvements from Tarpon Avenue to Palm Beach Road based on the feedback we received from the neighborhood. We did extensive outreach since 2021 on this project. Some of the concerns that we heard from the neighborhood was they wanted to minimize any impact on on-street parking, any concerns about the traffic calming measures, intersection visibility concerns, and it was important that we incorporate historical elements within the corridor design. So the consultant will go through those details. We do have Public Works and Utilities and other departments review these plans and provide comments. So throughout the process, they do have an opportunity to review and comment. Last week, we spoke with Bonnie Moser. She's not able to attend today's meeting. She's a CRB member. She did express some concerns regarding the travel lanes and the parking space width, additional shade trees, and widening the sidewalk to 8 feet. And that letter is provided to you on your table today. And Brian Good is here from Kimley Horn, and he's going to present the plans in more details. At the end of the presentation, staff is looking for feedback from the board on the proposed design.
We don't have a.
We don't have the remote.
The remote's not there.
Okay. Can you just mash the button?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Brian Good with Kimley Horn. It's been a few days since I had the opportunity to present to this group previously. My presentation this afternoon will go over a project overview of what the project consists of and what we have done to date. It will provide an overview of the project design aspects. We'll talk on the project benefits, as well as the public art components to be initiated, and then conclude with what are the next steps. So this is just east of Central Avenue, looking at the existing roadway section. To the left is the solid waste compound. You can see the 2 travel lanes on MLK, the parallel parking on one side, and head-in angle parking on the north side with the sidewalks. You could hit it again. This is looking west, just east of East Avenue. Similarly, the 2 travel lanes of MLK, parallel parking on the south side of the road, and angle parking on the north side and the sidewalks that are out there. If the sidewalk widths are approximately 6 feet wide within the corridor, and the travel lanes are approximately 10 feet with a mix, as I said, angle and parallel parking. So this is online survey feedback that was solicited. We got 46 respondents to an online poll. 70% identified as property owners and or residents. 65% believe the primary function of MLK Boulevard should be to serve local business. When asked to prioritize what they would like to see integrated into the overall design improvements of MLK, they rank the following 5 items in order of significance. So the highest level of improvement the community would like to see is slow vehicular speeds and improved safety of the corridor. They wanted to see improved sidewalks, an opportunity for gathering space. They would like to see improved roadway lighting and shade trees and green space. 80% of the respondents were in favor of traffic calming to encourage slower speeds. 53% of the respondents were not in favor of sacrificing on-street parking for wider sidewalks. 94% were in favor of cultural, historical monuments to be incorporated into the corridor. 96% of the respondents had a desire to extend the pedestrian improvements to Palm Beach Road. And overall, 89% of the respondents indicated to be in favor of improving MLK Boulevard. So this is the proposed roadway section that was previously developed in the conceptual plan. Consisted of 11-foot travel lanes, 9-foot 4-inch parallel parking stalls on both sides of the corridor, and 10-foot wide multi-use paths. Based upon feedback that we've gotten from a number of the stakeholders, the travel lanes are being considered to be reduced to 10 foot in width. The reason we had initially indicated or recommended 11-foot wide was because we have emergency services on the corridor, so we have a lot of police fire respondents, as well as we have solid waste disposal trucks that are running daily, 7 days a week on the corridor. But because of the stakeholder input, we are considering responding and reducing the travel lane width back down to 10 foot for the purposes of traffic calming. So this is the concept plan. It starts just east of the railroad right-of-way at Flagler Avenue, and as Pinal said, it extends down to Palm Beach Road going. This is the eastern section. This showed the streetscape ending at Tarpon. At the time the concept plan was developed, we had not entertained extending the pedestrian improvements east to Palm Beach Road, but that now is a component of the overall project to extend the sidewalk improvements on the north side to Palm Beach. And as I mentioned, 96% of the online survey respondents were in favor of it. The north side. There is a sidewalk today on the south side. There is not one on the north side today. So the design aspects that I wanted to speak to and present on this afternoon consist of water quality, parking, traffic calming, the landscape palette that's been identified for this corridor, proposed right-of-way needs, and just discuss briefly the community input that's been gathered. So this is the articulated permeable pavers are proposed to be located in the on-street parallel parking stalls, very similarly to what's been recently constructed on Seminole Street, right in walking distance of where we are. The permeable pavers will sit on 18 inches of stone aggregate, and it will represent approximately 3/10 of an acre of additional water quality treatment associated with the improvements of MLK Boulevard. So the proposed parking, the respondents provided a lot of feedback and stakeholders provided a lot of feedback on parking, and there was a strong desire not to reduce overall parking. The existing parking characteristics, see as it's displayed in front of you, We have 51 head-in parking stalls, 29 parallel parking stalls for a total of 80 parking stalls today within the roadway right-of-way. 4 of those 80 are accessible. So the plan as it stands currently, we have 68 parallel parking stalls. We have an off-street parking lot, which I'll get into a little bit more detail, for a total of, I believe, 84, and 4 of those will remain accessible. So the proposed off-street parking, because of a lot of the stakeholder input from the community, have reservations of a reduction of parking along MLK Boulevard. We have proposed to take a piece of city property that's currently used, I believe, as an impound lot for the police department on the north side, just east of the solid waste compound. As you can see on the image before you, this will represent 18 additional parking stalls. It is within city property, and this off-street parking lot will allow us to exceed current available parking associated with MLK. So traffic calming, that was one of the higher priorities that the community wanted to see, is elements to encourage slower vehicular speeds along MLK. So they had identified that as being their top priority, as well as 80% were in favor of traffic calming to encourage slower speeds. So the traffic calming elements that are integrated into this project are on-street parking, the lane width selection, intersection bulb outs, landscape placement, roadway material, and intersection stop control, and I'll go into a couple of those. So intersection bulb outs or curb extensions are an extension of the curb line, resulting in a reduced crossing distance for ped crossings of the associated roadway. Bulb outs have the ability to provide for improved sight visibility between pedestrians and vehicular traffic. It also encourages slower vehicular speeds by narrowing the roadway, having that projection of the curb line out, coincidental with the on-street parallel parking. And also another benefit of the curb extension is that it physically prohibits motors from parking too close to intersections, which can be an impediment to sight line and can be a hazard. So the alternative roadway material, like the parallel parking stalls being proposed to have the permeable pavers, we're proposing this stretch of MLK adjacent to Smith Turner Park to have an alternative, to have the permeable pavers as an additional element for traffic calming to encourage slower speeds. The rumble, if you will, transitioning from asphalt to pavers have been indicated to encourage slower speeds. So this is the image at the top is the Georgia Central Avenue intersection. Today it's a two-way north-south stop control. Within the proposed improvements that have been submitted to the city, we are currently proposing this intersection to be converted to a four-way stop. A couple of the benefits of this is it does encourage vehicular speeds to slow down because they have to come to a complete stop at the regulatory stop sign. Studies of four-way stops have indicated a reduced crash characteristic relative to two-way stop intersections, as well as it has demonstrated to be a safety improvement for pedestrians. Landscape palette. So these are the trees that have been identified that we are proposing to use. I won't read through them, but you can see these are the tree selection that we have proposed for the project. And likewise, these are the shrubs and ground cover that are being proposed to use. And then within Smith Turner Park and the pond on the south side of MLK, we do have are contemplating proposing some littoral plantings for additional water quality enhancement. And we've identified the plant material that we would like to use in that areas as well. So proposed right away, there's 3 locations that I would like to highlight. So this is the segment of MLK between Flagler and Georgia Avenue. On the north side is Sailfish Park. The current right-of-way today is 40 feet, and to accommodate the, it's hard to see, but if you can see a red line, the red line represents the existing right-of-way, and that top of that green is a yellow line, but that's the proposed right-of-way. We're proposing an expansion of the right-of-way to 65 feet or a 25-foot expansion. A 25, a 25-foot expansion of the existing right-of-way to accommodate the improvement. We're coordinating with Parks and Rec relative to the alteration of the field at Sailfish Park. Secondly, just east of there, east of Georgia Avenue, and to accommodate the off-street parking lot, we're proposing likewise a 25-foot expansion of the 40-foot existing roadway right-of-way. This expansion does not impact the buildings, but a proposed fence for security purposes will be constructed approximately 15 inches south of the existing buildings that are out there today. And then lastly, east of the Boys and Girls Club entrance, or the Stuart Middle School, however you refer to it as, there's a school board piece of property that we are also asking for the acquisition of 25 feet of right-of-way to expand the corridor to accommodate the proposed improvements. So this summarizes some of the community input that we've solicited and obtained to date. We've had numerous stakeholder meetings with residents of East Stuart. Public Works, as Pinal mentioned, and Utilities and Engineering, and Parks and Recreation have all had an opportunity to provide input into the plan as it's been developed. This is the second presentation to the joint meeting of the CRA, CRB, and City Council, as well as we have coordinated with the City of Stuart Emergency Services regarding the improvements. The overall project benefits is improved pedestrian mobility with the expansion of the sidewalk network, improved corridor safety with the traffic calming and various elements such as the bulb out or curb extensions and the traffic calming. We are anticipating slower vehicular speeds as a result of the overall improvements. As mentioned, we have approximately 3/10 of an acre foot of additional water quality treatment. This will introduce opportunities for other community gathering spaces on the corridor. It results in a corridor beautification with the landscape and hardscape improvements, and also represents a direct investment in the East Stuart community. So public art, we continue to work with the CRA on identifying opportunities within the corridor to integrate the master plan that's been adapted for East Stuart. And hopefully in the months to come, we'll have additional proposals to identify what that public art and opportunities will consist of. So next steps, we've submitted 60% construction documents as of this year, last month, March 2026. We are scheduled right now for developing 90% construction documents to the CRA November 2026. We coordinated with and worked with the CRA in completing and submitting a US DOT build grant application to help fund the overall improvements. We'll anticipate continuing having stakeholder input, as well as, I believe, it is scheduled for construction the beginning of 2028 based upon the CIP. So with that, I would love to entertain any questions.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jim.
Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it. I just had a question. If we're utilizing the impound section for parking, where would, oh, sorry. I forget it's not in front of me. If we're utilizing that impound section for parking, where would the impound cars go? Do we have another site for them?
I believe those were moved behind the public safety building.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I believe those were moved behind the public safety building. Yeah, so on MLK, but behind it.
Okay.
That's my understanding or impression too, is they moved it directly behind the police station.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a good place for them. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please elaborate or quantify what you meant by stakeholder input from the move from 11 foot to 10 foot? I mean, was this a common concern?
So the minimum by the Florida Green Book in the state, the minimum travel lane width that we're permitted to have for thoroughfare roads is 10 feet. The lanes out there today are approximately 10 feet in width. As mentioned, we were initially proposing 11-foot width, primarily because we had a concern about emergency services, just the utilization of that corridor so frequently, as well as solid waste. We felt 11-foot would be better served for that purpose. But we've had input from members of the CRB that had concerns about it. We have coordinated with the fire marshal, Public Works, engineering, utilities. And no one voiced any reservations about maintaining the existing 10-foot travel lane. So unless there's an opposition to it, I believe that we would recommend to the CRA to consider revising the lane width back to maintaining the 10-foot width.
That was going to be my next question, if emergency services was okay with that. I appreciate you telling me that. As far as emergency services and 7 days a week by Waste Management, is there any issue with wear resistance of the permeable pavers in that section of road?
No, sir. I mean, I've done permeable pavers. These are clay pavers. They're Pine Hall clay pavers. I've probably have done, I don't want to over 5 miles in the city of Kissimmee that have been down since 2009. There's not a problem in durability. The nice thing about the clay pavers that I actually advocate over concrete pavers. For those of you that probably see, over time the concrete will oxidize and it dulls. The nice thing about the clay pavers is they look the same today as they will in 12 years. They don't oxidize. If they chip, it's the same color, not like a colored paver where if there's a gouge into the concrete, there's a color differential. In the clay, you don't have that. So there is, I believe, some much better maintenance performance from a clay than a masonry paver.
Thank you, sir. And then my final question to you, the right-of-way approval from the school board, has that already been asked for and granted?
No, it has not. We've, through the CRA, we've coordinated and we've opened up those conversations, but it has not been finalized.
Because the project was on hold, I did move forward, but now that we're picking up the pace, I'll start coordinating with them again.
Okay, and that was to be my question, is what would the timeline for that be before we get too far down one path only to find out they're not going to willing to do it?
I believe the CRA was waiting for this presentation to take place so that we could get any feedback as based upon the presentation. But I would imagine that we would move forth.
Between now and November, we should have an answer.
Makes
As she
sense to
said.
me. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
And going from 11 feet to 10 feet, that foot is made up in the width of the parallel parking space, is that correct? Or is it the sidewalk?
Sidewalk, I think we'll make it up in the sidewalk because we are reducing the width.
Yeah, there's a couple, in that typical section that I represented to you, I represented the multi-use path as 10 feet. And I would say the majority is 10 feet. There are a couple areas specifically adjacent to the waste management build, the waste compound. I think we reduced that down to 7 so that we wouldn't impact those buildings. With that extra foot of travel lane width, we would anticipate giving that area to the sidewalk. If the sidewalk's already 10 feet, we would not propose increasing it beyond 10 feet. But
What would you do with the extra foot then?
so it would essentially, we would use it as a grading transition area. We're building right-of-way to right-of-way, which can be cumbersome with harmonization because we don't want to go outside and touch private property. So if we, any green space that we can afford between the back of sidewalk and the right-of-way is a benefit to constructability. The other area that I'd like to mention to you that we've reduced the sidewalk with was along the frontage of Sailfish Park. To minimize the encroachment, we had reduced the sidewalk width in that area from 10 feet to 8 feet. So we would anticipate going to a 9-foot sidewalk in that area.
And then part of what you had shown was from, was all the way to Palm Beach Road?
Oh, I said we will have pedestrian. We do have pedestrian improvements. The streetscape improvements end at
Tarpon Avenue.
Tarpon Avenue, right just east of Project Lift is where the
Has there been pushback about that right-of-way, going into that right-of-way?
It's just because it's more residential from Tarpon to Palm Beach, so we didn't want to do on-street parking or any additional improvements. We're just doing sidewalk improvements.
Got it. That's what I was gonna, yeah, okay.
that's good,
Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor. Do you think you could put back up the, I don't know what number slide it is, but it's the one that shows the constrained or potential constrained area where you're having the bulb outs? So the bulb outs will be coming into the roadway. And then if you have children and a parent crossing in a thing with a pram, whatever, a pram, what do you call a pram here? stroller, sorry. Okay. If you have them come in, out to that area and they hit the bulb out, they're gonna be like in the street right there, see? And then they have to cross and walk around the bulb out. So even though it's giving them less area to walk across the street, it's not bringing them to a level place where they can quickly swoop over into the sidewalk. And they have to walk around this thing because there are trees and plants right there. And it's just kind of like you come over there and then you have to turn around and literally walk down the road to get around. So I mean, I didn't see that as a good depiction of trying to get, you know, a crosswalk across there. So
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. So the bulb outs are accessible to the pedestrian, and they get the pedestrian. If you look in the image to the left, you can see the view angles of the pedestrian versus the vehicular driver. And the benefit is it gets the pedestrian further past the on-street parking. So it doesn't allow for the on-street parking to be an opaque barrier to view lines. And it, as mentioned earlier, it also has the ability to reduce the pedestrian crossing distance, which is a safety benefit. So bulb outs are viewed as a safety positive versus not having bulb outs for those various reasons.
yeah, I agree with the bulb out. I'm just saying that just having to walk around the bulb out to get to, you know.
Yeah, I think that's where you might be missing the bulb. You're not walking around, you actually walk in the bulb out.
Eula, are you talking about grade? Are you assuming?
Yeah, the great, yeah, because they're,
No,
yeah.
it's gradual.
I mean, there will be an ADA ramp, just like every other ramp. There's a pedestrian ramp. These that you see before, the image on the right, while they do depict the bulb out, that's a tabled intersection. And the tabled intersection, the sidewalk is flush with the roads. And if you start to look at that image a little bit more closely, you can see bollards.
Okay,
Because
as
the
long as-
bollards provide the barrier between the pedestrian realm and the vehicular realm. We'll have a curb, just like on Flagler, where we have a curb that separates the pedestrian walkways from the roadways.
Yeah.
So it is viewed as a safety
Yeah, the
improvement.
grade wasn't showing there.
Yes,
And it
ma'am.
looks as if there would be either still some plants or something there because of the way that diagram is. That's what I want to be sure.
Yes, ma'am. No, I don't believe the concern you're expressing will occur. And I can give you a different image to better explain it to address your
Yeah.
concern.
Good, yeah.
Commissioner Giobi? Or no?
No.
Rich.
Commissioner Rich.
Forgive me.
You had two slides that showed a great amount of vegetation on both sides. Go back to those. I'm just wondering if, I know Ms. Moser is one of her primary concerns, and it's obviously shared by the group, is slower speeds and improved safety. And we know that trees, especially big impressive shade trees, really slow traffic down. Did she see this picture and still think we need more
So this,
vegetation?
so
I'm just, because I know she spoke.
yes, sir, she did. And just so I'll just say at the preface, I'm not speaking for Ms. Moser.
No, I
Just
know.
my understanding of our conversation. So this was a
Looking at what you were
Yes, sir. So this is a concept plan. So what Ms. Moser was looking at was the actual 60% construction plans.
Okay.
So when we do this, we aren't evaluating existing utilities, all the water mains, the gravity sewers, the force mains, the gas mains, the fiber lines, the reuse mains, that are underground, as well as this concept plan didn't take into account or consider, FP&L has distribution lines on the south side. And one of the concerns that Ms. Moser, apologize, expressed to us is once we had an opportunity to explain what the constraints were, I think she understood. She still had a desire to see more shade trees, and we can recommend that. And we said as long as the CRA and everyone's aware that there has a potential, if just for say live oaks go on the south side of the road, when FP&L's trimming contractors come through, there is a high probability of chewing those trees up as they do. We were trying to provide trees that were more in line with FP&L. You may have heard FP&L has a policy, right tree, right place. based upon the tree and the placement to their infrastructure. So we were trying to stay consistent with their guidelines to minimize the hacking of the trees that take place. The hacking, the chopping of the trees that take place, with the pruning, trimming. Sometimes they hack them up a little bit. So the live oaks, we have concerns about live oaks on the south side of the corridor for that reason, as well as utilities aren't big, city utilities aren't big fans of when we place a live oak either on top of, or immediately adjacent to city utilities for the reasons you can probably imagine. So we ensured her as we move forward, we'll continue to look for opportunities to increase the shade tree varieties that we had showed on the palette.
Mr. Mayor, would you agree that fish would like to see as much shade on that?
Is it appropriate on the other side of, I guess to have like two different?
Yeah, that was my
So
concern.
that was, we didn't, and you can do that, right? The north side has.
Is that poor planning aesthetically?
Aesthetically, it just doesn't look where you have smaller trees on one side. I mean.
Is there a way to, is there sort of an intermix or a way to do it to where it's not going to interfere with the power lines, yet
So-
we can get as much shade as possible, kind of thing?
So that's what we believe we had proposed within the 60s.
Got it.
But they're not the robust shade trees that you think of, the live oaks, the poinsettia trees that I think Ms. Mosner would like to see on the corridor.
To go through all of this effort and not have that seems like a,
Missed
We don't
opportunity.
disagree,
Missed the
and we don't have a
mark.
problem putting the live oaks as long as there's a recognition on the part of the city that as those trees mature, they have a probability of being pruned to a degree that exceeds what the trees will on the north side.
Right.
And that's, so when we look at this, we don't try to think of it what it's going to look like on day one. We try to think of what it's going to look like on year 18. And it's just, it's a design decision. As long as everyone understands that and can accept that, then we don't have a problem. But we had proposed middle tier trees that weren't as shade oriented as I believe some would like to see, but we can certainly consider to evaluate that as we move forward.
from my perspective, as much shade as we can provide
Shade was
would
the
be
goal.
ideal.
Yeah.
Just one more question.
Yes, sir.
I think these 10-foot sidewalks are so important. I know the state coming in with legislation. The Florida League of Cities really wants 10-foot what do they call it?
Multi-use.
Multi-use
yes.
sidewalk. I saw 2 small children today just on East Ocean in the road. Oh my God. If we can accommodate them on these sidewalks, it's going to be so much safer.
Yes, sir.
And they're just going to become more prevalent, clearly, with all types of.
Yeah, one of the questions, one of the requests, as we're talking about Ms. Mosner's comment, we had, as the streetscape ends at Tarpon Avenue, we transitioned to a 6-foot wide sidewalk, and it's proposed to extend to 6 foot down to Palm Beach Road. That's commensurate with the sidewalk on the south side. Ms. Mosner wanted to see, I think it was 8 foot. She would like, her request was to expand that to an 8 foot, which we have room to do, and we can accommodate that, and I believe the CRA is amenable to doing that, so.
Because 8 foot is like the minimum for.
8 foot is a minimum for a one-way, multi-use path.
Right.
And since we have sidewalks and pedestrian accommodations on both sides, 8 foot would suffice.
We just didn't want to impact the driveway, so if they're parking their car in the driveway and the sidewalk is in the way, so we will look at that closely to make sure we can accommodate 8 foot without impacting their
Yeah,
driveway.
we have approximately from the, there's probably about 8 homes near Palm Beach on the north side that we'll be running sidewalk through, and I think based upon our measurements from the garage face to the nearest part of the sidewalk is about 27 feet. So that's enough for I mean, it wouldn't be sufficient if you have a truck and a boat trailer, but it's
Hey,
enough
less
for
lawn. I'm all in favor of that.
You would just want to make sure that everybody on that streets at whatever meeting you have
Yeah.
fully understands that that's what we're intending to do.
I mean, only 53% they did wider sidewalk, so I'm going to call that. So I say, for the sake of
Yes.
safety,
Are you planning another community meeting?
Yes, yeah.
With with
I think
visuals?
First, we'll coordinate it.
Visuals. Show the sidewalk cutting through the front of the yard.
And just in full disclosure, there was concerns of converting all of the on-street parking Today, as I mentioned, it's a combination of head-in angle and parallel parking out there today. All the parking is proposed to be parallel parking. There was concern from a number of the residents about the conversion. The challenge that we have is parallel parking is a safer option for on-street parking. It doesn't require one to back out of a parking stall, which you can do blindly if there's a large vehicle next to you. So it's a safety benefit going to parallel parking, as well as the depth into the right-of-way. My parallel parking stall, as mentioned, is 9 feet 4 inches. That's the width of my parallel parking stall. For a head-in stall, it would be roughly 20 feet. So the encroachments get to be a lot more. So I either need to ask for more right-of-way to build it, or that has to come from things like sidewalks. So everything is a give and a take. There's always a balance to your proposals. And we're trying to balance the parking need of the community and provide for enhanced pedestrian mobility.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Let me recognize
Oh, somebody else was.
Member Laughlin. He's been up for a
Okay,
bit.
all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
A couple of questions. Everybody wants the trees and shade, that's great. What type of, you had several types of trees, but the question is, how hardy are these trees? Are they going to require a lot of watering or systems in place?
So, yes, we're in conjunction with the landscape improvements, we're proposing an irrigation system. We would not recommend the extent of landscaping that's being proposed without a dedicated source of irrigation water to be provided. I can't sit here and tell you that maintenance wouldn't be required on trees. It's going to require more maintenance from periodic trimming. During the fall, if we have live oaks, they drop their leaves. There's going to be removal of debris, leaf litter from catch basins and so forth. So I don't want to represent the improvements not to require a higher level of maintenance activity.
Right. I just know some like native plants are a lot more hardy than others.
Yeah, they are. I tell you, I stopped doing landscape improvements based upon watering it in for 4 months or 5 months. The roadway environment is a harsh environment for landscape material. It's high mobility. There's a lot of impacts. There's a heat source of the heat reflection off the concrete and asphalt. It's a tough environment, and I would not recommend doing landscape improvements to this degree without a dedicated water source.
Okay, thanks. I got 2 more questions. Second one, you mentioned a 15-inch gap, I think. There's a fence that provides a 15-inch gap with the solid waste treatment facility.
Yes, sir.
Is that going to provide enough for maintenance workers to get back in there to repaint the walls or whatever they need to do on the maintenance or on the solid waste facility? 15 inches is kind of narrow.
It is narrow.
They're metal buildings, I believe.
They are metal buildings. Depending on what the maintenance activity would be, they might have to take down the fencing, unfurl it, depending on what the hypothetical maintenance activity. The problem is I'm right up to the building. So anything, as I mentioned, I've already gone down to a 7-foot sidewalk in that frontage. There was strong comments previous to this meeting wanting to have 10-foot pass. So we're trying not to reduce it. 7 foot is tight already. I'm excited to have the opportunity to add a foot to it if we go to a 10-foot travel lane. But it will be cumbersome potentially in the future, depending on what maintenance activity would need to be performed.
Okay. And the last question, Mr. Whalen and I were talking briefly about it, about what was I didn't catch the exact amount that you would be taking away potentially from Selfish Park, and how far would that, or how much would that impact the ball field?
It's the encroachment from the existing right-of-way to the proposed right-of-way is 25 feet. It's a little bit, the existing right-of-way today is about mid-sidewalk. So half of the sidewalk that's out there today is actually in the park itself. Okay. So it actually results in, I want to say, it's kind of radial. So at the ends we're 0, but at the apex of the radius, we're probably 12, 14 feet encroachment. We had a meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago with members of the Parks and Rec, and we have a meeting at the end of this month with the club, what is it?
With baseball league,
The league.
the league, right?
North County Little League.
So we continue to coordinate with them, but on preliminary feedback, it seemed to be doable.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Oh, and just so you know, the fence out there along Sailfish Park is an 8-foot chain link fence. The plan, based upon that encroachment, it was requested to go to a 10-foot chain link fence along that encroached area, which we've integrated into the plan.
Excellent. Very good, thank you.
10-foot high, yes.
So for clarification, that would impact that ball field. You'd have to
It would be,
rebrand the
but-
ball field.
It will encroach into in the right field, there'll be an encroachment, only the right field.
Does that create an issue?
Well, that's where we're going to have a meeting. So far, with Parks and Recreation, they don't seem to have any issue, but we'll have the meeting with the actual league, the teams that play out there, so make sure that they don't have any concerns.
For
And if there
travel
is a
teams and different sports, different
sorry?
for travel teams and different
Right,
groups that
exactly.
come.
Yes.
For all different age groups, right?
Fenway.
Yeah.
The only additional thing that could be done, if it's unpalatable to the city, would be to completely eliminate the on-street parking. I could gain that 9 feet 4 inches, but then I would be a net reduction in on-street parking if I lost the parking that's out there. There is on-street parking out there today on the north side, adjacent to Sailfish Park, and we're trying to maintain that to the greatest extent. But that, if for some reason, if it came back that it just wasn't feasible for some unknown reason that I can't speak to right now, our next step would be to talk about eliminating the on-street parking.
I think
Then
we'll
that would result in other complications.
Hypothetically, if Brightline went in, you are going to have a deficit of parking. You're not going to be able to use the parking on that backside where the courthouse parking is now. So you would really want to have maximum parking spaces for park use. So that would be an interesting conversation on whether or not you really want to even improve that if you lose parking spaces, or how valuable they very well could become.
Yeah, a number of the residents that we've coordinated with and stakeholders in East Stuart, I mean, that was a major concern, was parking impacts, a loss of parking. And that's the reason why we proposed the off-street parking lot, so that we can represent an overall increase in parking availability along the overall corridor.
Within that parking lot, is there room, it seemed like, to expand it?
There isn't.
That's the maximum of.
18 is, well, I take that back. To the north, there's another fence line, and they have another, looks like it's storage materials to the north.
Right.
And to the east is a stormwater management facility
Okay.
that we're trying to stay out of, and to the west is the existing
So you're
building.
maxed out on real estate?
Without further encroachment into other elements, we are maxed out in that area.
And it's really because of the demographics. There's a funeral home on that side of MLK, and the older generation, they just don't feel comfortable doing parallel parking, so we were trying to accommodate
They'll
different type of-
appreciate that.
right.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes, thank you. Going from Tarpon to Palm Beach Road, do we need to get any right-of-way from anybody on that north side, or is everything already there and we can contain and plan within that area?
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. We have all the right-of-way we need between the limits you just identified to build the improvements that are associated with this project.
Okay, next question. Along MLK, where we have the park, Smith Turner Park, we know that there's hardly any parking for Smith Turner Park. Is there anything in there that could allow any type of parallel parking along the roadway there to add some more parking for Smith Turner Park?
She's next to Smith Turner Park. Can you,
Because there's a parking lot there now, I think, that has 5 spaces or something to the east of the pavilions.
this is,
But there's nothing along the roadway.
That side.
can you,
It just takes me to.
And then I have one more question after that, Mayor.
Panal's trying to pull up the image. So there is an increase of parking in that area.
Oh, really?
This is,
I'm getting there.
she's the next step. So Smith Turner Park is to the top there. You can see the lake. And we have what I think is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parking, and then we have parking on the south side of the road. You only see the parking on the north side. And then also with Project Lift, which I know isn't immediately adjacent to Smith Turner Park, but it's one block down, we've actually been able to add 10 additional on-street parking stalls in that area with the dedication of right-of-way that was done through Project Lift.
Okay, that sounds good. Then the next thing is right in that area, well, actually all along MLK, but especially from Georgia Avenue going east. I noticed that you have something about a monument, and then you had another label that, where the seat walls and some other things, where you had a certain name to it.
Yeah, if you
Is
could-
that where
if you-
you're identifying potential monuments?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. So in that area that we were just looking at with Smith Turner Park, that's the plaza area.
The plaza, that's the word.
Yes, ma'am. So when we originally concept, we had identified that to have a 20-foot wide plaza area on the north and south side of MLK. We have proposed to reduce that down to 16 feet on the north and 16 feet on the south. The reason being is we have to do bulkhead walls because we have lakes on both sides to minimize encroachment into those water bodies. And then I have FP&L distribution lines on the south side that run parallel to MLK. And when we laid 20-foot plaza widths out, our gravity walls were having to jog around the existing poles. So we were having these pinch points every 250 feet to neck down to 16 feet. So we thought it would be a better aesthetic just to maintain a consistent wall width, as well as it reduced the encroachment into those two water bodies.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just let's go back a little to where the trees on Martin Luther King Boulevard, where we discussed the fact that the oak trees would provide the best shade, but there's an issue with how FP&L maintains if they need to cut them. Is there a possibility to make some sort of agreement, even on a small monetary basis, for them to trim them rather than to hatch them? I don't know.
And I don't mean to disparage FP&L's maintenance crews for the
it's
trimming.
everywhere, whatever.
I mean, they'll
They do
tell you, if
everywhere.
FP&L was here, I'm sure that they will explain to you that they take due care in trimming the trees. But as I think you probably have noticed in actual practice, they're there to protect the infrastructure that the utility lines represent and not minimize the shock to the tree. So we typically will see over pruning for that reason, which is a detriment to the welfare of the tree. And I
Well,
don't.
that's what I'm saying. Is there a way to work with them? I mean, every utility company across the country does that. Everybody knows they hack trees, they don't trim them because they're only interested in their infrastructure. Is there a way to work with them locally is all I'm asking.
Have the city take it over, right?
No, not those.
I
I'm not.
have not, to my experience, I've not seen a resolution to that.
Okay.
What I think was, what maybe the mayor just said is, if you were to go to if the city was to go to FP&L and say, we'll be responsible for the pruning of the trees, which I'm sure that there's staff within the city that may not want to absorb that
Milton's ready to
responsibility.
be up on the, he'll be on the bucket with the chainsaw.
but-
Absolutely.
No, I don't want the city, I don't want the city to be responsible.
Hanging over the wire.
I want FP&L to do a better job, basically. That's, I didn't
Yeah.
know if there was a way to maybe work with them on that. The other was.
Try to reach out to them and see if there's a better
Yeah,
way
just see
to
if there's,
hack them.
maybe they have a really elite group of trimmers
I
that
think
come around. Who knows?
I think FP&L would point me in direction of their right tree, right place guideline to plant a tree that's consistent with the offset, because they give, for different size trees, they give recommended offsets to minimize that encroachment. For a live oak tree specifically, for that line, they request a 50-foot offset. I have a 65-foot right-of-way. So the math doesn't
And all
work
we're
that
looking
well.
to do is maximize the shade, which would be those trees, rather than.
The only, so basically I have, in my mind, I have two options. I can do shade trees on the north and a smaller tree on the south is option one, right? Because then they wouldn't be, grow as large and be subject to the trimming that I'm trying to describe. The other option would be to put shade trees on both sides and hope that in 20 years that they're not V'd out and chopped where they're lopsided and.
Aesthetically, I don't know how that would look because you have one side of the street has one type of tree and the other. Maybe we could intersperse them, and I don't know. I'm just putting out thoughts there. Is there a way that we could maximize some shade and not give it all up to have trees that the FP&L will not maximize in cutting? The other question I had, because that's obviously not going to happen, the other question I had is there was discussion probably 2 or 3 meetings ago in regards to the Boys and Girls Club and the fact that they were utilizing 2 entrances and one really interfered with the school drop-off and pickup. But I don't know if that's the same end of where we are here that we're talking about.
Yes, it is. We do have that. I think they exit out of on MLK. They enter from 5th Street and exit on MLK.
And there was some controversy in the neighborhoods as to everything taking place in one area and interfering with the children being dropped off at the school.
Right.
Not Boys and Girls Club, the other school.
Yeah,
So
I don't think
I guess
they
the
ever-
question is now, would this reverse that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that
That's
won't
what I
reverse the
wanted.
traffic pattern. They'll continue.
Oh, okay.
But one good thing is that we're going to provide some on-street parking. So if parents want to park on MLK and walk to school, to Boys and Girls Club, they can walk, from that site to the parking. That could help maybe.
Okay, that sounds good. We can encourage them to do that. The last thing I wanted to say is that Bonnie Moser does a really great job, has lots of great ideas. I'm wondering I think they kind of get scattered because she's in all sorts of directions. It might make sense to have Bonnie have one dedicated person in the city to connect with, and that person can then disperse out questions and answers to other people, other departments. It just might coordinate everything that Bonnie's trying to do rather than spreading it out in like 4 or 5 different departments. So a main contact point for her at work.
City manager.
Yeah, the city manager. That's correct.
That's how that's supposed to
Yes.
work.
Right.
2.0.
She's a CRB member. She
Yeah.
could choose how she wants to practice that.
Board Member
As
James?
long as she clears it with the city manager.
That's right.
There you go. Okay, then you will be the contact point.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick question. The proposed stop where there's two stop signs there now, and then you're proposing for 4. Has there been a traffic study to see how that's going to be affected, how the traffic is going to be affected coming out of that area?
I believe the city, the CRA or the city is composing that study presently.
Correct. Yeah, we're doing an interim solution for that intersection because of the latest accident that occurred, pedestrian accident that happened at that intersection. So we're going to do a study to warrant 4-way stop signs and then the location of those stop signs. So Milton and I are coordinating with CapTech to do that study.
So let me ask another question. Would a proposed stoplight be out of the question?
Yeah, not stoplight. It would be stop
It
sign.
wouldn't meet warrants of vehicular volume warrants, because there's actual volume warrants to support. You can actually justify a signal based upon crash data. And I know that there has been crashes there, but I don't believe the crash data is to a level that would justify a traffic signal.
Yeah.
That a blinking light.
So typically, the evolution is
Somebody has to die? Oh, no, I'm just.
no, sir. 2-way stop, 4-way stop, flasher, and then traffic. So as you go through, you look at different safety enhancements for signals, stop control signals. So it will essentially evolve through a 2-way to 4-way to a flasher signal, yellow flasher and a red flasher, and then a traffic signal potentially.
Thank you. That really answered my question.
I have a question.
Were you first?
Oh, go ahead.
No,
Just a quick question. Number 2 of Miss Moser's, this is like the Miss Moser show. But number 2 on that, where she discussed extending the parallel parking length as opposed to the width, which would encroach on the sidewalk. Is that part of the plan, part of the discussion?
It is not. Currently, the majority of the stalls are 22 feet in length. That's what the standard is. The standard parallel parking is 8 feet by 22 feet, generally speaking. We recommend to make the parallel parking easier to use, to widen it, because a car is typically 6.5 feet wide. If it's 8 feet wide, to not encroach in the travel lane, it tends to be more cumbersome for people to use an 8-foot parallel parking stall. The bigger that you can make, the wider, the greater range of error it can be accommodated in that maneuver. In fact, a lot of municipalities for urban, high-volume turnover areas where you have parallel parking, they recommend a 10-foot parallel parking width for that reason. So we are supportive of including the width of it from 8 to 9 feet 4 inches, but we don't feel that increasing the length benefits us that much. And it has the negative effect, as some of the other items that we've discussed, of reducing the availability of on-street parking.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice presentation, by the way. My only concerns would be, this is for Board Member Frederick James. So I was the one that mentioned the four-way stop, and the only reason I mentioned that was it wasn't necessarily traffic related. It's a blind spot. So I don't know how it affects the other streets down MLK, but you can't see at all when people are on street parked. So that's why I proposed the four-way stop there. How does that affect other streets as we, I guess, see more development towards the lot line with the line of sight, if it's a concern for whether landscaping or on-street parking?
Thank you for that question. So some of the benefits of the curb extension or bulb out that I mentioned earlier, it allows us to move the stop bar closer to the travelway because the pedestrian crossing area is that much closer to the road, to the travelway.
Right.
So we get an improved line of sight. Right now, all the intersections are being designed to provide for 90-foot in either direction for clear lines of sight. We don't have that today. A lot of the parallel parking stalls that are striped out there are rather close to the intersections. And if they're occupied by vehicles, they can, based upon the size of the vehicle, can serve to be an impediment to clear line of sight. So in the geometric layout of the roadway improvements, as well as the selection of the landscape material, we are always keeping in mind providing for that clear line of sight along the corridor for the reasons you
Now the
described.
line of sight, is that specifically for pedestrians or vehicular? Or is
It's both. I need both parties play a role. I have to have the pedestrian see the car, and I need the pedestrian or the vehicular driver to see the pedestrian. So it goes both ways.
And then my next one was, I've been harping on the county for this heavily with the sidewalks. I think you should be able to park 2 vehicles without blocking a sidewalk. So that's my concern for property owners down MLK. Like if you have a single driveway and you can only park 1 vehicle, and if you park 2, if you block the sidewalk, that would be my only concern. I've been posting about it heavily and contacting the county because they've voted on projects to where homeowners can't park their vehicles in front of their own house that they own.
So I'm just trying to
It's
think.
like a right-of-way concern, I guess, right? So like when you buy the property, you understand it's right-of-way, but when we vote on a project like this, it's not your property, but we're putting a development in front of it, I guess, or a capital improvement project, but then you can't utilize your driveway, you can't park there, and there's only 1 vehicle, and if you have like 2 or 3 adults living in these single-family homes.
There's, other than the areas between Tarpon and Palm Beach Road, where we don't have a sidewalk today, I think that's the only area that I'm introducing a sidewalk that doesn't exist relative to a residential property or reducing that distance. Everywhere else, I believe I'm increasing the distance from the sidewalk to that residential property. Like I'm thinking on the south side of MLK across from Sailfish Park, I've got some cottages. I believe they're residential. They look and so there's some driveways there, and all that I believe is being moved further away, maybe a foot or 2 than what's
and
out
it might
there
be in the
today.
design phase, I guess, when a presentation comes back, if you could have that labeled, I guess.
We can highlight
and
that.
maybe show 2 vehicles that are stacked so they could park them. That would
Okay.
That's.
I can tell you that I'm increasing the distance over what is available today. I don't want to represent that. I haven't looked, but I have to check if I can stack 2 vehicles. You're saying
Correct.
bumper to bumper,
Correct.
yeah, because that
Because a
would
lot of
be
these are single
that would be
driveways.
approximately 40 feet
Yeah.
for 2 using a 20-foot vehicular length. That's a good distance.
Yeah, yeah, because there's single driveways and stuff, and I'm just worried about code enforcement coming after those property owners, because even looking at aerial maps, some people currently park not on paved surfaces.
Would that warrant a citation if somebody blocked that sidewalk, that car?
Yes.
Depends on the city's ordinance. If it
I
says
would
that we
defer
can't
to code
block the
enforcement.
city's
Citation,
sidewalk.
right,
We
Lee?
would have to look at the ordinance to see if there's something that prohibits them to park in city sidewalk.
That would be a nightmare to create all of
Yeah.
this.
We haven't ever, I don't remember we had to ever cite them for that before, so we'll have to look at that.
That would
I
be
know
something else to mention to get community buy-in or not.
I know all the, up between Tarpon and Palm Beach on the north side, those residential properties, those are all 20-foot wide driveways.
Yeah, they have plenty of room
And
there.
as I said, I think the distance from the sidewalk to the garage is like 27 feet. So we could, while I couldn't put them nose to end.
Just to show a
I could
visual,
put
I
'em-
guess.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, we understand what we're voting on, and more so the homeowners that live there, as long as they're aware what's happening, because I don't want to take a vote and then get bashed online for,
Took away my drive.
correct.
I understand.
If I'm voting on it, I want to just see it, I guess.
Yeah.
That's all.
We can
Thanks.
take care of that.
Mr. Mayor, just have one question. I want to make sure that, even if it's not shown on the signs along that road, that people know, and I think Bonnie had kind of alluded to the use of the sidewalks, whether you're in the roadway, walking or riding a bike or doing a stroller, or you're doing it on the sidewalk, that people who are using golf carts, because the city has rules and has streets that are designated, and I don't think Martin Luther King Boulevard is one of those streets where they're supposed to be using a golf cart. So we have to make sure whenever that comes up in the future that if golf carts are not allowed in that roadway, if it's not on the list, then we're making sure that's publicized, people know what's going on. The other thing is, when you're doing whatever it is for the monuments or anything like that, if in the future there's going to be one or two official bus stops along Martin Luther King, we don't have any there now, I don't think.
We don't
But
have
if
any.
if we're going to have that, if there's a potential that they could be located somewhere along there, if a bus stop wherever needed, a bus stop or, and also bike racks. I think we have a couple of bike racks along there now. But the bus stop, I don't know if that was covered in the survey for the community, if there was asking about any bus
I
stop.
don't remember bike racks. I know that with Project Lift, there was a the obligation to add a bike rack along the frontage of their property. Other than Project Lift, I'm trying to think of any other bike racks that I'm aware of.
We
in the
put
public
One at
road.
Georgia, there's one
Yeah.
at Georgia and one
We
at,
put bike racks in lieu of a parking space.
yeah. All right, thank you.
The question, oh, forgive me, you've been cut in front of a couple times and I
Not
almost
only
did
am I
it.
short, I'm almost invisible
Yes.
now.
I almost did the same. There you go.
I can't even keep my own sign up. Okay, it's just one question, going back to the four-way stop. So basically, we've moved from no stops, two-way stop, now a four-way stop. What do we need to do? What study is it? Or maybe we're almost there to do the flashing light. Bypass the four-way stop and use the flashing lights, which are much more visible for people and make them aware.
So
in those four corners.
typically flashers, that I see the installation of flasher signals when there's a crash history, but the volumes aren't large enough to warrant a signal, either based upon the crash history, but there is an increased sensitivity from the community from a safety aspect. It really can be a decision based on the city to install a flasher signal.
Right. Okay, because I would hate, it really gnaws at the very core of me that we have to wait for accidents or deaths or whatever to get to the next level of safety. So if there's a way that we could do that and the flashers would be more beneficial than the four-way stops, then we should go that route. And I also want to thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you.
With regard to that four-way stop, my question was going to be around a circle versus a four-way stop. And
A traffic
maybe-
circle, or?
Yeah, my sense was that four-way stops are kind of antiquated and often people blow through them. Is it better to engineer the traffic flow,
The-
or is it truly better to
At
have?
Georgia?
Just to entertain an idea.
Yeah, so if I may, the issue with a roundabout, a traffic circle, however you want to characterize it, is the design vehicle that you want to accommodate and the size of the right-of-way. Just to accommodate a WB 67, that's tractor and trailer, I need an inscribed diameter of no less, this doesn't include pedestrian improvements, but just from curb line to curb line, I need a minimum of 105 feet.
It would make a mess with the bump outs and all this.
It just, physically,
You can't do it.
it would have substantial impacts on right-of-way. I have a building, the waste management compound has a building right on the corner that I would encroach into.
Totally makes sense.
It would have substantial encroachments.
So it's your opinion that the best practice there would be four-way stop versus anything?
I think a four-way stop, before the city went through the expense of a flasher signal, there are other things that I would propose that I haven't mentioned this afternoon, such as the LED blinker that has a microwave beam. When a car comes up, the lights, the stop signs themselves have LED blinkers around them. Those are cheaper than installing a span wire or a mast arm flasher signal. And I think they achieve the ability of providing a higher level of emphasis on that stop condition. But those flasher signals, the last time I priced them, were, I want to say, around $12,000 a piece.
Wow.
10.5 to 12,000, which, believe it or not, is far less than what a flasher signal, a span wire flasher signal.
My
would cost
concern
me.
with that, though, would be that sign's going to be facing a single-family home
It's an issue on
Street
Southeast Central.
on Central.
Yeah. We're
I
having the
don't-
Same issue.
I
There's a
don't.
church there, but there's.
I don't think on the south side. I'm not aware of.
Albert's back
There's
there.
homes down that road, but none that I would say. While it's a flash, it's not going to light up the place.
I'm sensitive to it because we just had somebody here that had questions about a flasher.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, we can, if you'd like, the next time we come, we can bring a video depiction of it operating at night, just to get an idea of the illumination of it. But it is, if you're additionally concerned about the safety aspects of that intersection, that would probably be the next step that I would ask the city to consider.
And I think the four-way stop signs, we'll try to install that sometimes this year. So we'll have 2 years of indication whether it's working or not.
And the bump outs are going to provide a lot more safety
yeah.
there, too. and
Oh,
It's going to be
yeah.
layers of improvement.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I think, is that something we could do after the fact if we find that there's still an issue?
Yes,
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
We could save $50,000.
I was actually going to ask about those blinking LED stoplights. Has there been studies done as far as the efficiency of and the reduction of accidents and versus
Yes,
standard ones?
there has been studies done. They have demonstrated safety enhancements just due to higher level visibility, especially at night. As the reflectivity of the stop signs decays over time, having that flasher indicator is a nice safety feature.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much. You did a really thorough job. I appreciated. It really seemed like you hit all of the important things. So,
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
okay. Moving on to approval of the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda is published.
All in favor? Aye. Approval of the minutes, and we would have two separate here. The joint CRA, CRB minutes, and then the approval of the CRA minutes. So let's do number 2. Do I have a motion to approve the joint minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the joint CRA, CRB, CCM minutes from 1/26/2020.
And is there a second?
Yes, that's
Okay. All in favor, or do you want roll call?
all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And approval of the CRA minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
And is there a second?
Second.
This one needs to be CRA.
Yes.
Okay.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Mr. DeBerard?
It needs to be CRA, yes.
CRA.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Any opposed? No. Comments from the public on non-agenda related items? Anybody? John, how you feeling? No? You're good, huh? Okay. Seeing none, comments from board members. Just turn up your signs. All right, seeing none. Action items, moving on to item 4, CRA budget amendment.
Great, thank you, Pinal Gandhi Savdas again. So this
Hold
is
on a second, I need to read the resolution.
Sorry, okay.
Thank you.
Resolution number 02-2026 CRA, a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing budget amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2026 CRA budget, authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with Cummins Cedarburg, Inc. in the amount of $66,689 to assist with sovereign submerged land lease compliance and related negotiations with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for the downtown boardwalk and festival deck, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Lee. Again, so this is a budget amendment to authorize staff to contract with Cummins Cedarburg to help the city with renewal of the sovereign submerged land lease for downtown boardwalk and festival deck. The existing lease is not in compliance with current state regulations, so staff is requesting to hire a consultant to help us coordinate with FDEP with preparing documentation and application to renew the lease. They'll also perform riparian surveys and assist staff with negotiating and acquiring the riparian easements from property owners along Seminole Street from Festival Deck to Colorado Avenue. The existing riparian agreements are no longer accepted by FDEP, so we do need to update those easements to comply with the current state regulations. We have to secure this lease by November 2026, so we do have to expedite this contract with the consultant to help us apply with FDET to renew the lease. The reason CRA supports this is because funding this type of service, Festival Deck they're important assets that support downtown. And if we don't secure this lease by the deadline, it could jeopardize for the continued use of these facilities. In the interim, FDEP did provide city with a temporary use agreement, which allows us to continue using these assets while we work towards obtaining the required lease. This effort is being led by Ruth and Milton. They're here to answer any questions, but CRA supports this project, and staff is requesting approval of resolution number 02-2026, approving budget amendment to the CRA budget and appropriating funds to update submerged land lease.
Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 02-2026.
Second?
Okay. Is there any comment from the public on the motion? Comments from board members?
Question, I'm not sure who's correct this, but if this is based on a change in the legislative code, is this a one-time fee and we should be in compliance when the law changes again?
I'll defer to Lee or Ruth.
As far as a fee, this is a fee for our expert consultant to assist us with getting it. So I don't know that this is an ongoing fee.
I'm sorry if I asked that properly. Are we going to need to reapply for?
Ruth, I'll refer to you on that one.
We're going to do something.
Our environmental attorney, Ruth Holmes, has been handling this issue more than myself.
Thank you, Ruth Holmes, environmental attorney of the city. So these leases, these sovereign submerged land leases, they do have expiration dates. They do have fees associated with them. So the regulation landscape hasn't changed but the staffing for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has increased, and they're also putting a lot more scrutiny on these sovereign submerged land leases all over the state. So it's not just here. And the permits that the city had obtained in the past and the documentation that we've had in the past, particularly for the properties between the Festival Deck and Colorado Avenue, are not sufficient any longer. Not to say that the legislation has changed, it hasn't. It's just that the staff has changed and they're giving a lot more scrutiny. So with renewal of our lease that exists or did exist, they're not accepting the same documentation that we provided 15 years ago.
Any other questions? Any other questions from board members? Okay. Seeing none, Mary, would you call the roll?
Board Member James?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Giobi?
Yes.
Board Member DeBerard?
Yes.
Board Member Clark?
Yes.
Vice Chair Reed?
Yes.
Chair Collins?
Yes. Moving on to item 5, modification of the CRA CIP to include confusion corner design.
So the next two items are related, so if you don't mind, if Lee can read both resolutions, and then we can vote on it separately. I'm just going to give one presentation.
Number 5 does not have a resolution. I assume it's
Oh, okay,
discussion
that's
and
right. Okay.
deliberation.
So maybe 6, if you want to read that resolution, because I'm going to just kind of cover both together.
Okay, so I'm going to read the resolution number 30-2020?
Yes.
26? Okay.
Yes.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the city manager and city attorney to evaluate and negotiate the potential acquisition of the property located at Southwest Ocean Boulevard, also known as the Lindell property, to support the redesign of Confusion Corner and the intersections, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. So item number 5 and 6 are related. They're connected because of the ongoing efforts to improve the Confusion Corner. As directed by the CRA board, we've updated the CRA CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan, to include the design component for the Confusion Corner. This would allow staff to move forward with developing concepts and improving traffic flow and safety and overall functionality of the Confusion Corner. If approved tonight, the next step would be for staff to work with a consultant on developing a scope and getting a cost estimate so that we could include that in the fiscal year 2027 budget. The second item builds on that effort. It's a resolution that allows staff to begin evaluating and negotiating for the acquisition of the Lindell property, which is located near the intersection. The address is 11 Southwest Ocean Boulevard. We're not committing to a purchase at this time. We just want an opportunity to negotiate with the property owner, evaluate whether this acquisition would help us achieve a better design and a solution for that intersection. I have talked to CapTech because I'm working with them on the Dixie Highway Improvements Project, and they do see a potential by acquiring this property could help with the design of the Confusion Corner and the Dixie Highway Improvement Project. So we just wanted the opportunity to gather that information should the board allow staff to move forward with that process. And then anything moving forward, any potential agreements, whatever decisions that are made would come before the board for review and approval. So together, these two items are the next steps to addressing the Confusion Corner issues in a more comprehensive way. So staff is requesting approval to update the CIP to include the Confusion Corner design, as well as a City Commission action item for the acquisition for resolution number 30-2026 to negotiate and potential acquisition of 11 Southwest Ocean Boulevard.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah. Panal, with the acquisition of this potential property, we voted on the Dixie Highway streetscape stuff already, correct?
Correct.
does that correlate with that, or is this Confusion Corner specifically?
This will be specifically to Confusion Corner, but we can start looking, we're still working on the Dixie Highway improvements design. So if there's some modification we can make, we will bring that to you.
Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with Dixie?
No, not at
They're
this
still
point.
designing
We're
that.
still in design phase because we received a grant that we don't get until 2027. So this year is just a design phase.
And what concerns did they have with Confusion Corner specifically? Because I know one that I've heard continually is the pedestrian crosswalk that's on Colorado being moved further east. That's like really the discussion I've mainly heard. I don't know if the Confusion Corner redesigning it discussion has anything to do with like quiet zones in the county and the city with Brightline at all either.
This is a whole different design that
I'm just asking.
yeah, we would have to go out, we would have to do outreach to see what the design options would look like.
And what's the goal? I know you said safety. Are there that many accidents that happen?
There really aren't that many accidents. This is something that the CRA board asked to bring forward. That's why I'm proposing to amend the CIP to include this project so that I can budget for it. So that was based on the direction from the CRA board. And in addition, I thought, acquiring this property could potentially help with the design.
And are there like issues that were foreseen then if we didn't acquire the property? Are there preliminary designs?
There could be some
been-
limitations. It can only help. It's not going to hurt.
like,
And
has
it
there
could
been-
become a little park or something that can provide some visibility because there's some visibility issue at that intersection.
So there's been like concerns or discussion, I guess what I'm trying to get at is prior to it coming to us with staff, I'm assuming you've seen something in maybe the thought process or?
Yes.
Okay.
It was just a discussion with CapTech, honestly. So again, this is,
And what did CapTech have to say?
they think that acquiring this could help with the traffic pattern in that area.
Like if they had to like redirect it, like with.
Right, exactly, redirect the traffic, because right now, there are 2 yield signs that people come onto Dixie Highway. There's a lot of confusion where people don't stop and they don't slow down. So there's some,
Yeah, I guess I'm
again,
just
so
confused a little bit.
this would give us that opportunity, should you approve this resolution, it would give staff the opportunity to evaluate and then bring some information forward.
So Chair Collins, there is not a resolution attached to the agenda, so I would treat this as a discussion and deliberation. I would say we need 2 different votes, one for the resolution and one for this discussion and deliberation on adding it to the,
There's a chart included where you've added the conceptual and design cost into the CIP chart.
Right, so that's just a
Is that what we're
discussion.
Is that what, we're not approving that, we're discussing?
We're just discussing that and giving direction to staff to go ahead and
back with resolution
get a scope of
authorizing
work.
Okay.
Right, so, and also come up with a cost estimate, which will be part of the fiscal year '27 budget, which will come before you for approval with the
Do you need an
resolution.
associated dollar amount? Because you have here, you've
Well,
you added 100 and 300, but is that just kind of, ballpark?
Right, so that's if we move forward with the conceptual design and the actual construction, those are the estimated costs. But right now, what I'm asking is that we would develop a scope of work, and the scope of work, the design, there's a cost associated with that. That's not listed here. So the design portion will cost, that's me contracting with CapTech.
So you
and
don't need a number from us?
I don't need a number right now.
That's all I'm
I'll have that in the budget, and that's the one you're going to approve.
Awesome, okay.
so right now, seems the staff is looking to modify the capital improvement plan to include Confusion Corner design. That's all you would be voting on.
Okay. Is there a motion along those lines?
There is no resolution, Commissioner Joby. This,
Can you read that out one more time to clarify what you just said?
we have 2 agenda items. One is staff is requesting that permitted to modify the CRA capital improvement plan to include Confusion Corner design. We have a separate resolution that deals with acquiring property in the CRA.
So right now for item 5, How would you characterize a vote?
We would be looking for a motion to modify the CRA capital improvement plan to include Confusion Corner design.
Is there a motion
So
along those
moved.
lines? All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Perfect. Is there any public discussion on the motion?
We would need a roll call on that.
Yep, seeing none. Is there comments from board members?
I have one. Yes, sir. Mine would be the pedestrian crosswalk, unless any of these board members see an issue, I guess, with how Confusion Corner is currently done. I don't know if it's wasting taxpayer money. My only issue might be if you're going into Jensen on Dixie Highway where you're queued up and you're racing to that next one when it was redesigned, when they did all the track modifications. I would say that's probably the only issue, and then the pedestrian crosswalk. Other than that, I don't really see an issue with Confusion Corner or that potential property being
I think it
acquired.
needs better signage.
Right now, we're not
We
spending
won't know what
money.
Confusion
We're just
Corner is.
starting the process.
We're just starting
You're
the
gonna come back and give
process.
us an idea of what it might cost.
Right, to
Start
design,
that
right,
process. Yeah. We're just giving you.
A
the
design
authority
contract will come back to you.
right.
Before we're not spending any money quite.
know that.
Yes, sir.
I don't see any issues, I guess.
Okay.
Wait, comment
Any-
is about time.
Okay, yeah. It's pretty
Joke is,
terrifying.
the only thing they got right about it was the name.
Yes. And we've been talking about it for, I can't say how long. Okay.
All right.
Roll call.
Would you call the roll, Mary?
Yes. Board Member DeBerard?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes,
Vice Chair Reed?
And this is for agenda item 5 and 6, or just
Five.
5?
Just 5.
Yes.
Chair Collins?
Yes.
Board Member Giobi?
Yes.
Board Member James?
Yes.
Okay, and now 6.
6 will only be city
Did you call my
commission.
name?
Did I call Clark? I'm sorry. Board Member Clark?
Thank you.
No vote
Yes.
for you today.
And just to clarify, item 6 will only be commission vote.
Lee, would you characterize item 6 for us?
Well, again, it's approval of Resolution 30-26, or 30-2026. Correct. I'm happy to read it again if you'd like, but it's basically
I
acquiring.
think just for clarity, it would be good.
All right. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the city manager and city attorney to evaluate and negotiate potential acquisition of the property located at Southwest Ocean Boulevard, also known as the Lindell property, to support the redesign of Confusion Corner and the intersections, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Do we have a motion for approval?
so moved.
Okay, is there any public comment on the item? Comments from board members?
Yes. Panal, how far are we in the design process for the Dixie Highway streetscape?
I believe we're at 60% design. We're working towards 60% design.
Okay.
We already had FDOT review the initial plans. We've received feedback from them, comments from them, so the second plans will be submitted in June. There's like a 4-phase project submittals.
So how does that work if this agenda item passes? Do you stop the design process?
No.
Or do you go to 100% and you
We-
go back and redesign?
We
Are
won't,
paying the consultants or the company to go back and redesign it then?
we will have, we don't go to construction until next year. So if we need to modify anything at that point, we could modify it in front of Lindell property should be acquired, because then we don't need to make those improvements that are on, that are part of the Dixie Highway Improvements Project. So we could potentially modify it.
Yes, so they would build the city then, right?
I'm sorry?
They would build the city then to modify it, the design?
They would build this,
They would build the city for their work.
well, we would just have to remove it because we wouldn't have to make the improvements. We just wouldn't construct that. Since we're going to acquire it, we don't need to actually construct the sidewalks that are around Lindell property. And then we would just remove that from the construction documents, and then that property will become part of the Confusion Corner design. So right now, that property is part of Dixie Highway Improvements Project. And let's say we decide that this will help with the Confusion Corner design, then we'll just eliminate that property from our Dixie Highway project. So CapTech is here, maybe he can help. I'm sorry.
I didn't even know.
TJ, this is TJ, he can help maybe, because they're working on our Dixie Highway project.
Been here the whole time. Welcome.
I was told I didn't need to speak.
Well, I asked if they were here and nobody
No,
chimed in. Thank you.
Yeah, the Lindell property, so we're doing the sidewalk work along Dixie, redoing the road. That whole sidewalk is on his property. So we're working with the other owners that aren't selling, like getting easements to replace their sidewalks. There's probably 4 or 5 properties along the corridor that have a sidewalk on their property. So that would, there really wouldn't be any change. We would still be putting a sidewalk in. We would just own the property at that point.
Right, and if
And
we
then
own
what
the.
we do on the building, where the building is now, would be, I guess, a bonus to the project.
Did we know this was an issue when we designed the Dixie Highway project?
What do you mean,
When was it
issue?
brought to the city, the sidewalk being on his property?
Well, there's sidewalk on his property, the Lee property.
And
AT&T.
there's a vacant property, and then there's that old auto shop. So those are the 4 properties that we would do sidewalk improvements
We
on.
know this when we were discussing the Dixie High. I guess like as a board member up here, we might have, notifying us would have helped, I guess.
Well, we don't have to do, if we're not gonna redesign the Confusion Corner, then we would just move forward as is with the Dixie Highway project and make the sidewalk improvements along, in front of Lindell property. But if we're gonna acquire it, then that changes a little bit. We don't need to make those improvements because we're gonna be changing the traffic pattern in that area.
Correct. I guess what I'm getting at is we voted on a Dixie Highway capital improvement project, knowing that the city sidewalk is on his property, and now we're trying to acquire the property, so I don't.
But we're not gonna, the project can go on without acquiring the guy's
I
property.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's not what I'm getting at, but okay. Thanks.
We don't have to replace those sidewalks.
Right, the only reason we're considering this because at the CRA meeting, the board asked to relook at the Confusion Corner and redesigning that corner. So then we thought, okay, well, maybe this property could assist with the traffic pattern. So that was never into consideration when we were doing the Dixie Highway project and when that came before the board. So we would have never discussed Lindell property separately at that point.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. First was going back to what Commissioner Reed had mentioned, of what is the actual accident rate? I realize Confusion Corner is a disaster in some respects as far as it's very confusing, but is there an urgent need? Has there been like a tremendous amount of increases in accidents?
No, so we did pull the traffic report, and based on the traffic data, it was only like 2 accidents per month. So there isn't a major concern. Again, I'm bringing this forward because it was directed by the CRA board.
Right.
If there's no desire to redesign Confusion Corner, we don't need to move this forward. It was a direction from the CRA board.
Very good. Yeah, and then that was my other concern, was one of the things, we're talking about something that makes the city of Stuart unique. I mean, this Confusion Corner, I have a nephew who's a civil engineer, road guy on the other side of the state. And when he came to visit, I said, well, there's one place you're going to find very interesting. So we go there, and he's like, oh, he was literally kind of very impressed. He's like, wow, I can't believe this even exists, right? So it's unique. And you see it in people doing YouTube videos of it. So it's one of those things that they do redesign it. I hope it's not redesigned so much. I mean, obviously, safety is number one. There's not been a lot of increases in accidents. But we don't want to basically take away one of the things that makes the city of Stuart unique. Thanks.
I agree.
I think, and I'll go back to what I've said the last time, is it needs signage. I think that's the biggest problem. And that's not going to change the whole, allure of Confusion Corner, but there needs to be better signage, especially when you're coming. Nobody knows when to yield. People are stopping, don't stop on the tracks, just better signage. And I think that not just myself, but for the last 4 or 5 years that I could remember, people have been asking on the CRA, the CRB, please, just let's get better signage. And if that requires some sort of, consultant to come in and say, what signage do we need? Or maybe it's just, traffic department does that, but we need to address it.
And again, once I consult with CapTech, and if we find that this property has no bearing on the design, we don't have to move forward. And I'll bring those findings before the board. This is just due diligence period.
I agree with Will. You know, this is one of those, forgive me, Board Member Laughlin. This is one of those things that it's the character of Stuart. So I want to give you the ability to investigate, but I also don't want this to go forward.
I'm okay with that. It was a direction by the CRA board.
I
so
don't
I'm
want you to
okay with
actually
that.
spend money or waste too
Oh,
much
yeah,
time
don't
doing
spend
this
money.
personally, you know, so.
Just give me direction how you would like me to move forward.
So,
But can we spend money for better signage or a way to find out what is the better?
so where I feel more comfortable with item 5, where you could do a little investigating
Sure,
before you start going down the path of acquiring property to do this kind of a thing.
sure.
I mean, as much as another little pocket park would be nice. I'd imagine it's not going to be cheap. I don't feel comfortable personally with item 6, so I'm going to be voting against that. But that's kind of my thoughts generally. I really don't want to go into this. Yes.
Chair Collins, I think there's additional information. I think the property is up for sale, it's listed, right?
It is up for
It
sale.
might not be listed or, you know, in the future, so I think that's something that was left out of the record that we should
Okay.
probably identify.
Yes.
And, you know, the CRA could, you know, acquire the property. I mean, you're
So
not
this would give you
necessarily
the ability to come
limited
back and
just
tell
to,
us what it costs and this kind of a thing.
right, anything we come back would be an option contract. It would have to be approved by the board.
Mhm.
But obviously, we can't have public negotiations to come up with that number. It would be to our disadvantage, but we would come back with a number that you guys would have to be okay with. And it would-
Approximately how big is that parcel? Forgive me, I should have looked at that.
And it's a very tight parcel if it ever
Right.
gets redeveloped, so
We
I
don't have that.
think that potentially it could be a little pocket park and it could help with the visibility at that intersection.
And it's arguable that it's a blighted area.
Okay,
Hmm?
then I'll roll for this one.
God, now we owe you.
Yeah, I'll roll over for it. Okay, any other
So
questions? Oh, yes, I just saw you.
No, it's okay. Since that's looking at that, is there somewhere we could get on what I've been asking for, is someone who's going to evaluate what signage we need, because we're going to have to vote on it. And I don't want it to be another 4 meetings before it happens.
That would be part of it. A redesign would include new.
Well, I hope so.
yes,
Okay,
And
thank
even
you.
if we didn't want to turn it into confusion kidney bean, we could redesign it with signs.
Redesign. Just a little more signage for people who don't live here.
Maybe that would be good to add into this conversation as looking at signage, potentially.
sure.
Would you need any additional from us to do that beyond mentioning it, or?
Not right now. I would just develop a scope and then we would look at additional items as part of the scope.
Anybody else?
But do we
Yeah,
have a
just-
motion on the resolution?
We have a motion and a second. Would you like us to?
No, I just like to make I mean, what we're trying to do is see if we can provide another way of getting in and out of the city down West Ocean. This is a big part of that. And also, you know, I know that the traffic people, they've looked at, you know, shutting off Dixie Highway at, you know, right down here. So, I mean, they are looking at all these different alternatives.
Mhm.
Provide a safer way in and out of the city. It would be a big deal if we could take some traffic off of Colorado and put it onto West Ocean right out to US 1. So the purchase of that building could turn out to be absolutely crucial. So it seems serendipitous that it has come. So it is worth investing. Yeah, no one wants to confuse. Right. But the very small modifications I've could make big. I think we're obliged to consider it.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
All right. Seeing no other comments, Mary, would you call the roll?
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Board Member Giobi,
Yes.
Board Member Clark,
Yes.
Vice Chair Reed,
No.
Chair Collins.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
What do you got?
Okay. I had a conversation with the interim city manager about maybe 2 weeks ago regarding that, thank you, regarding the transportation grants that were available, but there's a prerequisite to that? Okay, so how do we get that prerequisite rolling? Because we've missed the deadline now. It was the end of May was the deadline for those transportation grants. It was a two-part. First part was to provide grant funds to do the study. The second part was to provide monies to create the project.
May I call on Milton? Is Milton still here?
Okay.
I think this one was in his hands that he could speak to it.
Right, but I know that there was something we needed to do before we could do those grants, and we hadn't done that. So I'm wanting to get that piece done so that we're prepared. I don't know when the next opening for those grants are.
Pinal, were you part of that one either?
I thought this is the item on the city commission agenda to authorize to apply for that grant.
Well, that's what I wasn't sure, because it's
Yeah, it's
really
on the city
citywide, it's not so much CRA.
Right,
Right, so it's on the city
East Ocean
commission agenda.
Avenue.
That's the SS4A.
Right.
Yes, the SS4A.
SS4A, that's coming up at
Oh,
the
it's
next
coming
meeting.
up, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.
I guess I'm sorry.